Trevor, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, my pleasure to be here.
So Trevor, you had a provocative article in a magazine called The National Interest.
Is it provocative? I had no idea.
In which you castigated my friend Bridge Colby for his remarks about Europe, middle powers in the United States. And you maintained that Bridge, who's in the Defense Department, is trying to have it both ways, or that the Trump administration is, urging Europe to become independent in its defense outlays, and at the same time demanding that Europe follow America's lead in foreign policy. Explain why you see that as a contradiction.
Well, these are two fundamentally different ideas, and they're pushing against one another. You can't at the same time have Europe spending vast amounts of money on its own defense and also expect them not to have any autonomy in how it sees sort of its geopolitical environment. And historically, the relationship between America and the other members of NATO has been American-led, but has been American-led in an environment where America acts as though it's the first among equals rather than it gives the orders and everyone else is obliged to follow them. And what we're seeing under this administration is increasingly sort of NATO's strategic outlook changing from America leading the way and everyone else following to America trying to push its allies into things that they don't want to do. You know, the most recent example, of course, has been the war in Iran, which Trump launched on his own without sort of consulting with and in fact, without really telling the other members of NATO, and then being very, very frustrated when the other members of NATO didn't look upon this with favor and decided not to participate.
But before we get into the nuances of your argument, couldn't you make a case that the transatlantic relationship is actually in pretty good shape? That Trump has not withdrawn from NATO, that the recent summit in Ankara went well, and Trump seems to have become fairly supportive of Ukraine, which is a big cause for the Europeans.
Right.
So what's there to worry about?
Well, I think you're right. It by all appearances, the recent Ankara summit was very successful. Trump and Zelensky seem to be getting along. Just the other day, Zelensky was in Washington for Lindsey Graham's funeral, and he and Trump were seen together, and they were, by all accounts, very comfortable with each other. I think on the surface right now, the NATO relationship is about as good as it's ever been. And I wanted to give Trump credit at the start of this article because he has gotten European NATO members to spend vastly more in their own defense than any of his predecessors could. This issue of, now it's at 5%, but before this it was at 2%. And the United States under Obama, under Biden, under Trump the first time around was constantly pushing these NATO members to spend more, and they were just constantly refusing to do it. And so I think it's to Trump's credit that he's gotten them to do this, and has not, the reason he has done this has not been the United States is not going to defend you anymore. It's, look, our resources are constrained. You know, we may have to be doing something in Asia, and so it makes sense that you would want to have these capabilities to look after yourselves.